Welcome everyone to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series where we are able to showcase some of the work our past students have done. I'm Charlotte, one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have Hayden with us, who did one of our Future Scholars Program courses. So firstly, can you just introduce yourself? So tell us where you're from, what year you are in school, and then which course you took.
So, hi, my name is Hayden. I'm a senior in high school. I live in the Silicon Valley, and I took the AI and machine learning course.
And what interested you in taking that course?
Well, I've been interested in a lot of modern issues like climate change, gerrymandering, and homelessness. And when I was looking at CCIR, I realized that it would give me the opportunity to really research homelessness on a deeper level. And with help from a mentor, I decided to sign up for this program to research homelessness.
And can you give us a general overview of what the course was about?
So for my course, for the AI and machine learning one, we read a textbook, statistics textbook called Regression and Other Stories. I learned a lot of statistical concepts like linear regression, simulations, Bayesian statistics, and other methods of prediction. Throughout the weeks, we would get readings, research papers to go through, and then we would discuss them in class. Then we also would have TA sessions on every Sunday where we could ask questions to the TA about what homework, what we might have struggled with for the homework, and also how we could progress our research projects.
And had you had any experience with AI or machine learning in school before you started CCIR?
Not really in school, but I have found in like outside courses or outside research projects. I've worked with AI before. I did one on mitigating bias in ChatGPT. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, nice. So now we're going to shift to discussing your research paper. So I know you mentioned that it was on homelessness. Can you give us a general overview of what your paper looked into?
Right. So my paper was looking into a pretty recent Supreme Court ruling. I think it's June 2024 that it was passed. It was called City of Grants Pass versus Johnson. Essentially, what it entailed is that cities are allowed to pass bans on homeless encampments if they sort of like intrude on public property or something similar to that. So what I was investigating in my research project is what impact homeless encampment bans have on the unsheltered homeless population. Like, would it improve or would it like help reduce homelessness rates, that kind of thing?
And can you walk us through your research methods or your process of collecting and analyzing the data?
Yeah, so I did a lot of data collection from the US Census, as well as an organization called HUD, which collects like yearly data from counties on both sheltered and unsheltered homeless. So for my project, I look into unsheltered homeless because those are the people who are being directly affected by these policies, right? And for like the method of my paper, essentially what I did is I look at before the ban was passed, like what is the trend of homelessness? And then after the ban is passed, what is the trend of homelessness? Was there a change in the trend? Did it suddenly start going up more rapidly, or did it start to level out? That was essentially what I tried to collect data for and do my data analysis on.
Nice. And what did you ultimately find?
Ultimately, I found that more important than just the individual encampment ban itself, it matters a lot, like the social circumstances surrounding it. So if there are also other affordable housing policies, like maybe take Miami, for example, they had an extremely strict homeless encampment ban policy, and a lot of organizations predicted, wow, this is going to hurt the homeless population, it's going to be terrible. But in reality, it actually decreased the homeless population, but it's because the encampment ban wasn't in isolation. There was also more investment to affordable housing, more investment to homeless shelters. And I generally found that if cities or counties are investing money in all of these different facilities while incorporating these bans, then that's how you make them most effective.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And sorry, I forgot if you mentioned, did you look into specific cities?
Yes, I did. So for my project, I looked at Manchester, New Hampshire, Sacramento, California, and Miami, Florida, because those are the three policies that they're different enough that I can sort of compare how the different policies affected the homeless population, and they're also placed at a certain point in time that I can meaningfully analyze the data before and after. It's not something that was passed just 6 months ago, and I can't really see what impact it's had.
Right. And then can you walk us through kind of maybe your conclusions or what you think the importance of your findings are for the field and the general public?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to consider other policies to address homelessness while placing down these bans. And specifically for these policies that ban homeless encampments, I found that whether you're charging a fine of $250 versus a fine of $25,000, there's not that much of a statistical difference between the impact that it has. So really, I think a 25,000 fine would hurt the homeless population a lot more. They struggle to get out of poverty if they're given that fine. So I think in terms of implementation, it's good to have policies that are easy to implement, as in the police don't have to go and check with nearby shelters and so on before issuing a warning. But it's also important to not give too hefty of a penalty, because that sort of makes it hard for the homeless people to recover.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great point. And then can you walk us through what your process has been with publication? I know you mentioned earlier that you've started that process.
Right. I mean, admittedly, I only finished my paper towards the end of summer, I guess. All of these writing revisions, I've gotten a real insight into how many revisions you have to do for these research papers. But just recently, I think at the start of this month, I sent over my abstract and whatever materials that I could over to a high school journal. And though I haven't heard back from them yet, I should be getting a response within a couple of weeks, and I look forward to hopefully getting my research published.
Did you work with just your mentor, or did you have experience with the CCIR publishing team?
For just this one, I worked with just my mentor. I think I reached out to CCIR for resources on where I could sort of publish my research, and they came back to me with a very comprehensive list of conferences, symposiums, those kind of things, which I think are very useful. But I already published my paper before they got back to me with those, so I have submitted my work to some of those conferences at this point, and hopefully I can just sort of spread my research.
Yeah, definitely. And getting published and attending a conference would be a really great experience, because you get kind of best of both worlds in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to shift to discussing just your general experience with CCIR. So firstly, can you tell us what your experience was in the program doing a high-level research project like this was, especially as a high school student?
I definitely could not have done it without my mentor. I think I gained a lot from working with the 4 other students who were in my group. So firstly, with my mentor, he helped guide me towards my topic. I think I was struggling a lot to sort of articulate what I wanted to research. I sort of had a jumble of ideas, and he helped me narrow down, okay, this phenomena of homeless encampment bans following this Supreme Court ruling, it seems very relevant. There's not that much research on it yet. This is a gold mine. You should go with this. And here are the statistical methods that you ought to consider. And that really helped me with getting started. And he kept helping me throughout the process with data collection, all of that. It was great. And then when I was going back through like the writing revisions, I have my draft. The other students were great with giving input on, oh, this part doesn't seem very clear. I don't really have that much background knowledge on this topic, and I think it would be great if you could sort of expand on these terms. And I think I've just made my research a lot more clear because of all of the input that I've received.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you mentioned how the other students in your course were able to help as well. So just for everyone listening, with the Future Scholars Program, we cap each course at 5 students, so it's still a very tight-knit group. But can you tell us, I know you mentioned having help with kind of critiquing your paper. Can you tell us what else it was like working with the other students?
Yeah, it was great. I had so of the 4 students, I think one was from like India, one was from Turkey, one from Texas, something like that. And beyond just the research project, I mentioned earlier that we had our research papers that we were going through, and we also had like statistics programming assignments on our studio. For both of these, it was a huge help to be able to like contact my group mates outside of class. We set up a group chat, and we sort of, whenever we were like stumped on, oh, I don't know how to access this material, or oh, what did you guys get for this problem? It was just great to have that support system there. And then when we get into class, we have our discussions. We can really sort of like bounce off each other, just sort of combine our understanding of the paper, because a lot of them are extremely technical, and it's easy to sort of not understand parts of it. And I feel like just working together, it was a great community.
Great. And then my next question for you. So with both of our programs, we really like to emphasize the aspect of mentorship, which you've discussed a lot already, as opposed to the traditional teacher role, where our mentors are really there to guide you through your own discoveries and learning process. Can you tell us what it was like with your mentor and your TA as well, how they helped move you through the first teaching half of the course into the latter, more research-oriented half of the course?
Right. I think, one thing that's very different between like a mentorship and a teaching experience is that perhaps the teachers have a more clear or a more like strict idea of what topic they want you to follow, sort of like. But for this mentorship, we all had the freedom to explore what topic we wanted to explore. Granted, we were given a lot of papers on like election polling and stuff like that, AI, machine learning, those topics. But oftentimes those were just for inspiration to sort of see like, this is how a paper should be written. And we sort of discussed like the different elements of setting up an experiment, how to create like a meaningful hypothesis, those kind of things that are very broad. And I think everybody benefited from that. We all got to study topics that we were all very genuinely interested in. And the mentors are outstanding. They were all able to help us with all of our different topics. I think it's just great to have such knowledgeable mentors at this program.
Yeah, that's great. I think it sounds like you had a really great experience with your mentors, which is lovely. So just a few more questions. Firstly, do you think this course has given you any insights into your future? Do you think it's maybe shaped how you think of your path moving forward, either as a researcher or as in your career or in uni?
I think even before I was going into this program, I sort of wanted to do a lot of research in college, but even if this hasn't necessarily like changed my trajectory, I think it's made me a lot more confident as a researcher. Like, I have done my research things before, but oftentimes it's either with a very supportive group, all of us working together on a paper, or it's done with a mentor who's acting more like a teacher, right? This one, I was given the task of find a topic that you like, find the data, do everything, literature review, all of that, revisions. And I think just going through the whole process, a lot of the stuff done by myself has really made me more confident in my ability to do research.
That's great. And I think it's great that I think one of the great things about CCIR is that you're able to kind of solidify if research is something that you're interested in, because oftentimes it is your first, like you mentioned, your first real experience, choosing the topic that you really want to, that you really are interested in and diving into that. So it's great that you're able to solidify that this is an interest of yours. So my last question for you, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially for a high school student?
I think there's a ton of things to take away from this program. So I think it helps a lot to stay on top of things from week to week. But I think one thing that really helped me in this program was just keeping in mind like the time span. I have a 10-week program. I should try to get on my research pretty early on so that I can make use of my mentors and get a lot of their help throughout the more difficult parts, like the data analysis and the writing revisions. Those parts I'm going to struggle on, and I think that has a lot to do with if you attend a college with like a quarter system, you might struggle a little bit with the pacing to just stay on top of things and like sort of keep in mind bigger than picture of getting in this assignment before the next class. Look towards the end of the class. You've got a capstone project at the end of whatever semester or something like that. Just keeping that in mind, I think this whole thing was extremely high level, and just it was a great structure that I hope has better prepared me for university.
Great. So that's the end of our Spotlight interview. Thank you so much for chatting to me, and congratulations again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.
Yeah, thank you for having me.